We, like sheep, need a shepherd.
For the past month, we've been learning more about what Jesus is like. We found out that because of the way he showed love, healed, and taught, that he was extremely unique, highly unusual, unlike any other. Or in one word, he was radical. Well, we're going to be starting some new lessons today that will help you get to know more of who Jesus is and understand more of what he is like. Now, the Bible gives us many word pictures to describe Jesus. You know what a word picture is, right? Like if I say someone is as quiet as a mouse, what kind of person do you think of? Or how about if I say someone is as busy as a bee? Then what kind of person do you picture? How about if I say someone eats like a horse? You got a picture in mind, don't you? Well, one of the descriptions given to Jesus in the Bible is that he is the good shepherd. Let's take a look in the Bible where Jesus says that about himself. He says, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Well, those two words tell us a lot about what Jesus is like. First, he's good. I mean, as opposed to being bad, or someone who's hurtful or couldn't care less. Secondly, he is a shepherd. But what does that mean? I mean, does that mean he's like a farmer who raises sheep for a living? And if he's a shepherd, where are and who are his sheep? And why do sheep need a shepherd anyway? Jesus is the good shepherd. But who are the sheep? We are. But why? We don't look like them. We don't sound like them. I hope we don't smell like them. Well, Jesus compared us to sheep because of the way we act like them. Here's some examples. First of all, sheep follow the crowd. I mean, they follow one another. If a herd of sheep are standing in a field and one of them decides to wander off in one direction, guess what the other sheep do? They wander off right behind. Well, often we're the same way. If one of our friends goes somewhere, we want to go with them and not be left behind. Sometimes that's not so bad. But sometimes without a good shepherd to watch out for us, we might wander off in the wrong direction. Here's another way we're like sheep. Number 2 is they're clueless to danger. That's just a polite way to say sheep are dumb. I mean, a sheep doesn't know the difference between a safe place and a dangerous place. See, to a sheep, laying down in the middle of a road is no problem. Or wandering into a dark cave where wolves may live, or staying out at night where it could easily be attacked. That's why a good shepherd herds his sheep at night into a sheepfold. It's a safe, fenced-in area. And often a shepherd would sleep in the doorway of a sheepfold, so no sheep could wander out, and no attacker could wander in. Well, we're much like sheep in the same way, and then at times we are clueless to danger as well. You know, I have known kids who've gotten into drinking and drugs just to try it and see what it's like, not realizing the danger they're getting themselves into. You know, even simple choices like what movie we watch or who we spend our time with can be loaded with danger. And often, we don't even realize it. Well, another way we are like sheep is that sheep are quick to panic. It takes one loud noise or a sudden move to startle sheep. And as soon as one sheep is stirred up, the other gets stirred up as well, and the whole flock can become spooked. And the only thing that can calm them down is the gentle voice and the presence of the Good Shepherd. I know this one farmer of a sheep farm who told us that when he comes early in the morning to feed his sheep, if he just goes to the barn door and rattles the handle, the sheep panic. So now on his way to the barn, he starts talking to them, telling them, "Good morning, time to eat, wakey wakey." And as a result, when he opens the barn door, the sheep don't panic because they know the voice of their shepherd. Another way we're like sheep is that sheep cannot survive on their own. Now this may sound kind of dumb, but some sheep are unable to find good food and water for themselves. I mean, they don't know the difference between bad, dirty water and good, fresh, clean water. And they may spend all their time eating the grass in one area right down to the soil, and then they cry out because they have nothing more to eat. All the Good Shepherd does is just lead them over to an untouched part of the pasture where there is more grass. Now, we're similar. I'm not saying you don't know how to turn up on the faucet and get a drink of water. I'm not saying you don't know how to fix a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We can feed our bodies pretty well. But what about our spiritual life? And our friendship with God? Left to ourselves, we'd never survive. That's partly why the Good Shepherd Jesus came to live on this earth, to show us what God is like. And that's why we have the Bible to read and to learn from, and a place like Promised Land to come and learn even more. In this way, the Good Shepherd helps us grow. Now for sheep, because they follow the crowd, are clueless to danger, are quick to panic, can't survive on their own, the only way they will manage and get along is by having a Good Shepherd.
The Good Shepherd meets needs.
There can be a lot of confusion over what we think we need and what we really do need in life. In other words, there's a difference between needs and wants. Hey, speaking of wants, earlier in your group, you probably heard that verse read that went something like this. "The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything that I need." Now, does that mean that God will give you everything that you want? No, this verse does not say, "The Lord is my Santa Claus. He gives me everything I want." No, it explains that God is just like a good shepherd who takes care of what his sheep need. See, there's a difference between want and need. Want is the stuff you'd like to have. Need is the stuff you have to have. For example, if you don't have food to eat, you would starve and die. And if you don't have a coat to wear in sub-zero weather,
Oh, my.
your body would freeze and you would die. And if you don't get your own personal phone line with which to talk to your friends,
Hello.
you would...
Hello.
No, you wouldn't die. You'd be just fine. See, water, food, clothes are needs. You have to have them to survive. Personal phone lines are wants. And although you want to have one, it is possible to live without. There is a difference between needs, the things we have to have, and wants, the things we'd like to have.
And now a word with the
here at the fence.
Tell me, what makes a good shepherd?
Good shepherd protects. Yeah, he protects.
A good shepherd protects. See, flies are a nuisance to sheep, and not because they're always buzzing around, but because they like to land on a sheep's nose. The fur there is short, and flies like to dig through the fur down to the skin, and even under the skin where they're known to lay eggs. And then as the eggs develop, it becomes a major irritation to the sheep. And if the eggs were laid under the skin, they start growing towards the sheep's brain and it makes them go crazy. So the sheep have a need to be protected from the flies. And they can't meet this need by themselves unless they run around all day, constantly on the move. So a good shepherd meets this need of his sheep by dabbing an oily ointment on the sheep's head, which can be like a medicine to heal an infection and also an insect repellent to keep the flies away.
How God protects you.
Here's a couple ways. First of all, he protects you through parents. Why do you think your mom or dad is always telling you to, be careful or don't hurt yourself? God has put into the heart of parents the desire to want to protect you.
And now a word with a sheep.
Tell me, what makes a good shepherd?
Well, since you're asking the question, I feel a good shepherd picks us up.
Another way a good shepherd meets the needs of his sheep is that he picks them up. See, sometimes sheep need to be picked up. Here, let me explain. As you know, sheep grow wool, and it can become very heavy. You also may be interested to know that sheep tend to overeat, and they'll eat so much that they can hardly stand. So naturally, they like to lay down and rest. But if they aren't careful to choose a flat spot to rest in, and they lie down next to a hollowed out spot or a little gully, they'll roll right over on their back and won't be able to get up. So a good shepherd will come along and pick up a sheep that has fallen.
How God picks you up.
God also picks us up. When we sin and when we do wrong, when we need to be forgiven, when we recognize our sin and admit it, God makes forgiveness available through Jesus. In fact, once God picks you up and forgives you, he promises to forget about it.
And now a word with a sheep.
If you were to ask me, a good shepherd provides.
A sheep may want to eat so much that he eats all the grass in one area, all the way down to the ground, even killing the grass so that it'll never grow back. So a good shepherd keeps moving his sheep around so they don't overeat in one area. A good shepherd leads them to green pastures and to quiet pools of clean water.
How God provides for you.
God sees to it that all of your physical needs are provided for. Food, water, clothes, and a home. And if you doubt that God knows just what you need or that he'll meet that need, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a little bird, ever worried if it would have enough food to eat? Have you ever seen a robin building a barn out backyard to store some extra worms? No way. They don't worry about it. God takes care of them. Or have you ever heard of tulips popping out of the ground and talking to one another about how worried they are that it may never warm up or that it may never rain again? No way. Tulips don't worry about it. See, God sees to it that everything he's created is cared for, that its needs are met. And that's what makes him such a good shepherd. He is able to meet all of your needs too. Hey, here we are with Lynn, and she's a sheep farmer. Can I call you that?
Sure.
Sheep farmer. Go ahead, Lynn. Tell us about sheep. What are they like?
Well, sheep are pretty defenseless, and they really need somebody to take care of them.
Now, when you say defenseless, why can't they take care of themselves?
Well, they're really not equipped to fight. They don't have teeth on the upper part of their mouth, and their lower teeth are good for eating grass, but not for defending themselves. And so when they're frightened, they run. And if one sheep is frightened, you can bet that the rest of them will follow. They all will take off.
Now, if I were a sheep, why would I want to stay inside your fence?
Well, this is where the sheep is going to be cared for. This is where he gets his food and his water, and where someone's looking after him to make sure that he's well.
What would make a sheep want to wander away from a fence?
I think that it's almost natural for a sheep to wander. First of all, they're not really a thinking animal. They pretty much follow their instincts, and because they move on, that's their pattern of grazing, to go from one area to another. If they happen to find a spot where they could get out, they would just naturally do that, which wouldn't be a good thing.
And if a sheep were to wander outside the limits of the fence, what might happen?
If a sheep wanders outside, it could possibly wind up down on the road, being tangled up with traffic. Drivers aren't expecting to see a sheep in the road, so they could very likely be hit. We also keep them in here to protect them. We have coyotes in the area, and it's not uncommon to hear of them being attacked by coyotes, so it's really important to keep them in a fence.
Well, it seems like they need someone like Lynn, like a good shepherd, to take care of them. That's what I think. Okay, well, then we're signing off from Lynn, the sheep farmer. Bye. Bye.
The Good Shepherd lays down his life.
The Bible says we are sheep. Oh, not that we look like sheep or are as dumb as sheep, but we tend to act like sheep. Here are some ways. Sheep tend to wander or go astray. And that's why they need a good shepherd to give them limits. Sheep also panic easily, and that's why they need a good shepherd to calm their fears. Sheep can't find good food or water on their own, so they need a good shepherd to meet those needs for them. For example, many sheep ranches are found in dry, desert-like areas where during the hot summer months, any small ponds of water dry up. So a good shepherd will get up while it's still dark out, and at dawn lead his sheep into the pasture so they can lick the dew off tall stalks of grass. Without a good shepherd going out of his way to get up early to lead his sheep out into the pasture, they would die of thirst. So, a good shepherd meets their needs. And today, we'll find out that sheep face life-threatening dangers. And they need a good shepherd who is so concerned about the safety of each sheep in the flock that he would actually risk his life to protect the flock from danger. Now, in each of these situations I've just described, I've said that the sheep need someone. Who? Right, a shepherd, but what kind of shepherd? A good shepherd. And when I say good, I don't mean just a kind, caring shepherd who smiles a lot and says, "Howdy, sheep." When I refer to a shepherd as being good, I mean someone who does the job well, who takes the job seriously, and someone the sheep can count on to care for them. You see, not all shepherds are good. Some could care less about the sheep. I've heard that often in a large sheep ranch, they not only have the owner who cares deeply about the sheep, but there will be some workers who are paid to watch over the sheep. Now, Often these workers really don't care about the sheep at all. To them, it's just a job. I mean, they show up later in the morning, lead the sheep into the pasture where the dew already may be dried up. And occasionally they count over the sheep, make sure that they're all there. And should one of them be missing, he may say, it'll show up, or I'll look for it later. And should he go look for it later, only to discover a cougar sneaking up behind the little lost lamb, ready to pounce on it for dinner, a worker shepherd would probably just run the other way for his own protection. See, a bad shepherd would never risk his life to save a sheep. The sheep aren't that important to him. However, the owner, or a good shepherd, would probably act a little different in a situation like that.